Hey everyone, welcome back to the Truth Pop podcast, helping you to live out your faith in modern day culture. I'm Jake.
And I'm Cathy. And today we're really excited to talk to someone who's bringing faith and film together in a powerful and inspiring way.
Yeah, our guest is Austin Kelly. He's the CEO of the christianchannel.com. It's a growing streaming and podcast network dedicated to sharing faith-based movies, documentaries, and inspiring stories. Austin's also the co-creator and director of the independent Catholic TV series called Knights of the Cross. It's a cinematic retelling of faith, sacrifice, and courage during the Crusades.
This series has been supported by the Catholic community through crowdfunding, and it's connecting the audience to the deeper question of how we can imitate Christ even in the midst of chaos and conflict. We're thrilled to talk to Austin and how this all began and what's coming next.
Austin, welcome to the Truth Pop podcast. Thank you so much for the time today.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm really happy to be here.
And now, so let's just go back to the beginning, Austin. When did you first launch ChristianChannel.com, and how did that journey eventually lead you to creating an entirely brand new indie TV series called Knights of the Cross? Which, by the way, for listeners, important to know that the show's crowdfund option is still open, so supporters can actually have their name added to the ending credits with a $149 pledge when you go to donorbox.org/knights. So Austin, tell us about how this community-driven approach has helped to really bring the vision to life.
Thank you, Jake, for that question. Yeah, Christian Channel started 5 years ago. I was working in a big company, working with celebrities, and I noticed a few changes in my neighborhood. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I saw the San Gabriel Mission burned down for the first time. It was intentional. There was a gentleman who just was unhappy with the Catholic Church and decided to burn it down. And it was nearing its 250-year anniversary. It's been here longer than the state of California itself. So right at that moment, I realized, wow, I need to take my faith seriously, and I need to do something about it. And working with celebrities, back then in 2017, 2020, influencer marketing wasn't even a word, but we were using it back then when I was working with these celebrities. So I said, I'm just gonna meet with one of the most influential Catholic speakers out there, and I'm going to pitch him the idea. Let's create movies. Let's crowdfund Catholic movies, and let's make an impact in our society. So I ended up reaching out to J. Stephen Roberts, who's the owner and operator of the largest YouTube channel about the Crusades called Real Crusades History. Has like 381,000 subs, still very popular, and a very strong fan following. And we got together and we said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to make a Crusader TV show. It's going to be action packed. And I'm really blessed because J. Stephen Roberts, is a devout Catholic. So it just worked out really well. To be honest with you, I kind of didn't know what I was doing. My whole career was in marketing. I had no experience in filmmaking. I didn't even know how to turn on a camera. So the fact that I'm here, recording with you two is great because I know how to use a camera now, and actually directed episode 2, which will be coming out December 28th of this year in 2025. So it's been a long journey, my filmmaking journey and my directing journey. I find it very fun, but it's filmmaking is very expensive. We ended up crowdfunding just under $100,000. The show cost right around that six-figure range. So it's a high quality cinematic show about our faith, about the Third Crusade. So I know the modern, those I live in LA, those crazy people in LA, they say, oh, the Crusades were very bad. And I just say, I don't think arguing about it in a debate is going to solve any questions. I think as Christians and as Catholics, we kind of need to see the virtues of the saints during the Third Crusade. We need to see the virtues of a crusader, the virtues of kings, and that world we brought into life and we brought into cinema. So right now, we're very excited and we're to make announcements saying that this show will be airing on the Christian channel December 20th of this year. But our plans and what we're trying to raise funds for is to get them on bigger platforms like Hulu and other big streaming platforms like Peacock. And we need a little bit of support. The good news is We raised just around $37,000. Our goal that we're trying to achieve is 50. So we're super close to the goal, and I'm super excited about that. But just imagine millions of people watching a Catholic TV show on Hulu or on Peacock TV. And honestly, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the fans that supported us a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's truly amazing. We were able to watch Knights of the Cross and we were so impressed with the high quality, and it really takes us back to the Crusades, and it truly makes us feel like we're there. But it's such a deeply Catholic and spiritual lens with all that Catholic imagery. And it's just very, very inspiring to watch. So that would be amazing for people to watch that on those different platforms, like you mentioned. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this show and what makes it stand out from all the other faith-based productions?
Well, we have blood. So episode one is very spiritual. It's about despair, right? I mean,
Mm,
we talk about King Richard of Lionheart, and he comes, he's the King of England. He doesn't have to go on crusade, but there's a lot of death and chaos and destruction happening in the Holy Land where those pilgrims are getting slaughtered. So him and a few other countries like France went on crusade, the Third Crusade, to save those Christians. So he's overwhelmed. He's underarmed. He lost a lot of men on the first battle. So Saladin was there for him, and in the Muslim world, Saladin is the pinnacle of the Muslim empire. He is even today, like people in the Muslim world kind of view him as the man to. So the fact that Richard, the King of England, was facing Saladin, if we had a little bit more of a budget, there'd be more of a storyline to kind of they were kind of nemesises, but they kind of loved each other. They kind of Saladin really loved the challenges of facing Richard, because Richard was always undermanned, underarmed. But what was keeping him from surviving? What was holding the faith true? It was prayer. It was the Eucharist. It was our faith. And that's what we showed in episode one, is that his strength comes from the Eucharist. That was the whole point of the show, because we have a character that lands in the Holy Land. He's defeated. It's a true story. He gets a really bad fever. And as creative filmmakers, we kind of were like saying, how can we take advantage of this moment? So what happens is Richard goes in through a fever and he hallucinates, and he goes into purgatory where he sees his father. And so a lot of Catholics that watch episode one are like, wow, I can't believe you actually filmed Purgatory. So we did film Purgatory. Is hallucinating, just that saying creative freedoms here wasn't true.
Sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then if you watch later in the episode, he's hallucinating again, but he's at the mass, he's at the Holy Mass, and he receives the Eucharist, and he actually levitates. And then as he levitates, he wakes up from his dream and he says, wow, I'm here on crusade. I'm here to do my father's will, because he wasn't courageous enough to go on crusade, but I'm here with God, with God's strength. I could do anything. And then the ending of the episode kind of like has that roaring, famous Richard the Lionheart roar, 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 and then it leads into episode two, which just tell you, a lot of atheists who've watched the show compared our show to Star Wars, believe it or not. I don't know if you've got that, but episode two is kind of like Star Wars, the episode five, Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
A lot of people died. So in the very beginning of episode two, you notice one of the characters that was pivotal in episode one he's dead. William's dead. And it kind of captured the audience's attention, like, wow, the crusade was real. We just lost one of our main characters, not Richard. But Richard is about to go back into England. He's kind of forfeiting. He's done with his Holy Land experience, and he's going to go back. But what happens is Saladin, true story, says, Richard is weak. I'm going to attack him as hard as I can. And Richard, he could have cowered. He could have said, no, they're not going to take Jaffa. And then what happened was he ended up going. It's such a famous battle in military history. I'm not too far away from Camp Pendleton, which is where all the Marines are. It's such a Marine battle. It's a very famous battle called the Battle of Jaffa, where he took a small group of men and he put them on shore and he attacked them from the ocean into the land, which was unheard of back then.
Mhm.
So yeah, and there's a bonus scene. Maybe I'm spoiling the whole season, but the bonus scene is well, the whole point of the show is to imitate Christ. And how do we
Yeah.
imitate Christ? Through the midst of chaos, death, and destruction.
Mhm.
And that is the key pivotal character of Richard. But there was that spiritual element from purgatory. And if you watch the bonus scene from episode 2 is the apparition of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which you know her promises. Her promises, you know, if you wear this brown scapular, you will not die, you know, in the
Right.
fires of hell. So blending a lot of those messages in from the history fact, from the spirituality. If you're a devout Catholic, you probably are going to like the show. If you're just a historian, you're probably going to like the show.
Yeah.
But if you're an atheist, the whole point of the show is to watch it like, wow, what is this? Because England, we think England today is Protestant. Once upon a time, it was devoutly Catholic. So it just gives a fresh eye of the history of England, the history of the Crusades, and the history of our faith, all in one show.
Well, and I really appreciate that you're doing this because, like you said, there are people now in today's culture who just have the wrong idea of the Crusades and the intent of Catholicism in that time. And so, you know, you're going to see the faith and you're going to see a lot of war. You're going to see a lot of chaos. And I think that's what's beautiful. It's beautiful about that, being able to combine it together in a way that makes sense. So, what is the main message that you want people to know, take away from when they watch the show?
Yeah, imitate Christ every day. You know,
Yeah.
be a servant of God and strive to be a saint. Because we did feature Saint Simon Stock in the series, and a lot
Mhm.
of Catholics probably don't think about the lives of the saints during the Third Crusade, but there were, and we need to be as virtuous as the saints. You
Mhm.
know, I think there's some talking heads out there, some Catholic influencers that just say, you know, we're just gonna not live our faith. We're just gonna coward away. And that's not what the saints did. The saints were very active. The Catholic priests were very active. The Catholic brothers were very active. You know, they didn't fight on the offense all the time. They fought out of defense, you know, to defend the faith. And I think
Mhm.
our cultural battle right now, with everything that's going on, I think we need to start defending our faith and start praying the rosary probably every day and
Amen.
start. And that's one way we could start. But I'm not asking you to pick up your guns and rosaries. I'm just asking you to pick up the last weapon, and which
Yeah.
is the rosary, and pray for
Mhm.
the Pope and pray
Yeah.
for everybody. So everybody in the diocese that's local to you, because we're all human. We all have weaknesses, but we need to start praying for those in power because God needs to intervene. And when
Mhm.
God is not involved, we're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I think prayer is so powerful and we all need to pray and we all need to do our part. And like you mentioned before, this entire project has been built with fan support. And it's so amazing that people have come together and they made this vision a reality. So, what has your experience been like to see that happen?
Ah, it's so cool. It's so cool because we, you know, my like I said, my background is in marketing. So
Mhm.
if you were a fan that spent more than $1,000, you got to join us on the movie set, which is something that I've never, you know, heard of outside of The Chosen. We kind of loosely took
Yeah.
it from The Chosen,
Yeah.
but but we had a lot of fun. And you know, meeting these fans in person, they drove all over the country to join us. This
Mm.
is during the COVID pandemic, and we couldn't film in California, so we filmed in Utah, and they drove all the way from New York, all the way
Mm.
from Illinois, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. They drove all the way from there with the Crusader gear because we were on a very tight budget. And as
Mm.
you see the show, it's very authentic. You know why? Because all that stuff is real. That's
Mhm.
why. You
Yeah,
know, we were in a
absolutely.
soundstage, but all the wet because we when we first started to do our promo trailer, most of the weapons were plastic. And can I tell you what it looked like on camera? It looked like plastic.
Not
So
going to deceive the viewers in any sort of
no, no,
way.
no. So we ended up using real equipment, real chainmail, real
Mhm.
tailored clothing, and you might have seen a couple recycled clothes here and there. So recycled Crusader clothes, but
Yeah.
it's been a phenomenal experience. You know, 5 years in the making to make
Hmm.
this show accurate. So we're just really excited that we get to, you know, celebrate and say, hey, thank you everybody for helping us out. Now it's time to get the word out and to start watching the show and sharing it with friends and family. And if you still want to be a part of it, just that last tidbit is you go on to christianchannel.com, you click on crowdfund, and from the crowdfund button, you could still put your name on the ending credits. And that crowdfund closes October 31st of this year, not Christmas, Halloween. And then by Christmas, you get to watch the show with your name on it. So that's what I'm super excited about. So we're still not done. We still need a little bit of help, but the good news is the major streaming platforms are very excited to have us on. And we're also very excited, but we just need a little bit of funding just to get that little bit of distribution.
That's great. That's so exciting. I mean, just to think about having access to the show on Hulu or Peacock, like how many people that's going to reach who just need to see something like this and need to see the truth. So, for people who are interested in checking out the christianchannel.com, let's talk a little bit about that. It's more than just a platform, right? It's a full ecosystem that has podcasts like the Christian Channel podcast. Then you'll get other shows, you'll get just great Catholic content that's solid for the whole family. So, what really is the long-term vision for Christian Channel, and where do you see it going?
Great question. I was just putting a pitch together this morning. So
Yeah.
the vision is to make the Christian channel turn into like the Christian Hulu. That's kind of the truth of it. We want to
Love it.
when we first started, we were very successful when we first started. And we actually licensed a lot of movies, a lot of great movies. I think we had this not the songs, but we still have The Bells of St. Mary's,
I
and we
love
had a
that.
bunch of rom-coms
Yeah.
and family-friendly films. So I think the evolution of our streaming platform, maybe it might be free. I can't confirm or deny, but it may or may
Yeah.
not be free to watch with ads,
Okay.
being played. And maybe those ads are very clean and safe. So instead of, those ads that you get that don't align with your Catholic or Christian faith,
Right.
supporting a pro-choice politician.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the future of the Christian channel may be like the Christian Hulu that we've
Mhm.
been wanting for. I mean, you have PureFlix, you have Hallmark, and we need Christian channel, cheesy rom-coms too. Like we need
Yep.
Catholic cheesy rom-coms,
Absolutely.
starring Lila Rose, So we
Yes.
we we, we that's what we need. But I hope she comes on a rom-com. But yeah, I think we need that. I think what you two are doing with Truth Pop, I think we both share the same vision that we
Mhm.
as Catholics, we kind of need to be in the world, but not of the world,
Yep.
right? We need to entertain. I mean, how many Catholics are there in the world? 1.3 billion?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not an investor, but that's a good market cap,
Yep.
right? If you
Yep.
targeted 1.3 billion people, then you built a streaming platform that caters to small Catholic businesses. I think there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited about the future of the Christian channel and the future of Truth Pop too. So hopefully everyone's along for the ride. We should all support each other and help each other not only get into heaven, but also evangelize and and grow the mission.
Hmm.
That's what I
Absolutely.
think the goal
Yes.
should
Yep.
be.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And with growing that mission, that takes a lot of work to produce that high quality content. So, can you walk us through what a typical week might look like for you, balancing everything that you have to do with writing, filming, editing, and managing the platform?
Well, it's a tornado.
Yes.
Well,
Tell us how you really feel.
well, it just depends, right? When you're working on a film project, there are obviously you have a call sheet, you have the typical production of a film. Managing the day to day of a streaming network is completely different. Starting this, I've wore about 100 different hats, and to tell you the truth, I didn't want to direct episode 2 of Knights of the Cross. I went to confession, and a priest pretty much he wanted to shake me and choke me. He says, "You're going to direct it, okay?" I was like,
Wow.
"What, Father? I don't want to direct it. You got to direct it." I was like, because
Wow.
we just didn't find the right director that shared that
Mhm.
same vision, that didn't want to bring that spirituality. You find with
Mhm.
I'm not disrespecting our previous director for episode 1. Aaron is a great guy, but we just it was a tight budget. We didn't have the money to pay the director, so I had to make the tough call to direct. And I want to let the audience know, how'd you think of my directing? Was it decent? Was it bad? Was it good?
It was amazing. I mean, it just like the cinematography,
Yeah.
and I was talking with Kathy about just the lighting too. And I think that's
Mhm.
lighting is something that is so easy to get wrong when it comes to a movie project like this. And you guys, you just did an amazing job with
Yeah.
that.
You know why? It's because we hired an amazing team. We had an
Mhm.
amazing team. And that's one business lesson I learned. If you
Mm.
want something done well and done right, you got to hire the best. You got to
Yeah.
hire the best and you got to be honest with your budgets. You got to work backwards. I guess
Hmm.
that's like a producer in me. You just got to work backwards
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
be honest with yourself and say, "Hey, this isn't going to be Passion of the Christ, but
Mm.
it could be like The Chosen. I could make it
Yeah.
look
Yeah,
Yeah.
like The Chosen." And so
absolutely.
how do you work backwards? And I just want to be honest with folks, this was a crowdfunded project.
Mm.
This is an independent film. Right now, the Christian channel, we cover red carpets and we see films all the time. You grow to appreciate films a lot more. And
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
kind of could tell the films that were, that cost $100 million or $50
Hmm.
million, that production. So I could just look at a movie and I already know the camera equipment. That's how
Mhm.
I went from not even knowing how to turn on a camera to I could just look and dissect the film and say,
Mm.
that's a Sony, that's an Ari, and just know by the lighting and know by the
Mm.
lens. And yeah, it's I'm excited for the future because I think for us, you know, I have a dream project. I got a
Mm.
dream
Mhm.
project. After Nights, if it gets a lot of momentum, I think season 2 and season 3 will happen. There's been a lot of I'll just share with you. I did take a few meetings and there was a lot of important people, studio presidents that said, what's
Hmm.
season 2 and what's season 3?
Mm.
And I said, well, season 2 is about the King of France. It's St. Louis. And then season 3 is going to be about the First Crusade.
Mm.
So that's a bit of a sneak peek. And we wanted to make it a trilogy. So Knights of the Cross would be a trilogy. So you would have the Third Crusade, episode 1. Then you'd have, I believe, I forgot. I'm not a historian, so forgive me, but it would be about the King of France. And then the last one would be about the First Crusade, which a lot of people like.
Mm.
It's so it's the trilogy that we wanted to bring together, and I may or may not be a part of that, but
Mm.
I like I said, I'm a big believer in the mission,
Hmm.
and if that mission requires me to sacrifice myself to let Mel Gibson direct it, I don't mind to take that sacrifice.
Well, I mean, you're doing a great job. You got a great team. It's very evident that this is going to be big. And one thing, we've just been talking about through all of our projects is just how there's so much hope for Catholic media in general. And I'm so excited about how the Catholic Church is really entering into just that Renaissance phase again of capturing media to evangelize and using modern day art to get the message out there to the masses. So what is the message? What's the big picture with what you're doing with the show and with Christian Channel? What do you want people to know?
I want them to live their faith. That's the
Hmm.
whole truth.
Mhm.
When I go to the malls or when I go out with my son, I'm noticing a generation of degeneracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'll tell you a true story. I was with Mel Gibson. I'm not sorry. I was with Mel Gibson, but another gentleman, Jim Caviezel.
Hmm.
And Jim was at a conference and he said, and I hope he forgives me, but he said, we live in a culture of exploitation.
Yeah.
And how many women, young women, are out there, in ads, in social media, exploiting themselves for
Yeah.
likes and comments? We have a generation that has just destroyed marriage and the family, and the media just wants to destroy marriage and the family. And I think
Hmm.
us not talking about that core message,
Hmm.
um, we're going to have a culture that goes even worse than where it is today.
Mm.
I don't need to disclose, assassins that, have certain ideologies, they want to be called, certain names, pronouns, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
That is the product of a generation that is oppressed. That is a product
Mhm.
of a generation that does not have God. That is a
Hmm.
product. And where does it start? Who's in your homes every day? Oh, the
Right.
TV.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Right.
radio,
Yeah.
the media.
Right.
So it's
Hmm.
good that Christian channel, I don't want it to be, sorry for my language, I don't want it to be like a homeschool kid, go to because mom and dad approve the
Mm.
Christian channel. I want it to be
Yeah.
fun. I want it to be like Truth Pop. I want it to be, a go-to channel where parents, I could just stream it with my son and just say, hey, go crazy. You know, you can watch whatever you want on the Christian channel. The ads are, you know, that doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
exist. So,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to make the mission grow and
Yeah.
to partner with people that share that same vision, that say, hey, faith and family go
Mhm.
hand in hand. We need a network that's faith and family driven, that doesn't have, you know, naughtiness in it. And I know a
Yeah.
little, maybe a little too much information.
Mhm.
People pay for that stuff,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
Oh
big
yeah.
money
Oh
Mhm.
to
yeah.
put disgusting content. Like that's the message. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's an attack. And as
Mhm.
long as Catholics are honest about that, yeah, you know, Christian is a scrappy little startup. But if we start talking about the truth, maybe it'll wake people up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
reminds me of what Sister Lucia said. The final battle would be between marriage and the family. And then you look at, you know, a company like Disney, how they claim to be for families, but the way that they've
Mhm.
warped the idea of family, even going back to like the mid 2010s when they used to own ABC Family, and then they flipped it to a channel called Freeform, where, you know, they said just express yourself and be whoever you want. So this is it's a very cohorted effort, I think, just from the modern day media to, like you said, manipulate the idea of family and to make it in non-existence. So just appreciate what you're doing for Catholic families who want an alternative. It's important, it matters, and we believe in it here at Truth Pop. And we're just so excited to partner with you guys and just again encourage people to join the mission of Christian Channel and Knights of the Cross and have the opportunity for listeners to have their name featured in the end credits. So you can go to donorbox.org/knights. Again, that's donorbox.org/knights. Every pledge is going to bring this Catholic story to life. So we're really excited about that, Austin.
Yeah. And you can also learn more at christianchannel.com. So thank you so much, Austin, for joining us and sharing your heart behind Knights of the Cross and Christian Channel. Let's continue to support creators who are keeping faith alive in media and film.
Join us again for another episode of the Truth Pop podcast, helping you to live out your faith in modern day culture. God bless you.
Be sure to subscribe to the Truth Pop Podcast